Hey everyone. I will be going live in about an hour and a half on Cerberus with Timothy Knight and Andre Meloche. Um, and we're going to be talking about the Charlie Kirk thing, but there's three of us on there and there's so much to cover. I haven't been sleeping much since Charlie Kirk got um, assassinated, the political assassination. And I don't want to go on that show and then come across as a crazy lunatic trying to hog the mic and sharing all these video files. Disclaimer: this episode, I'm gonna really piss off a whole bunch of people. I think the right is gonna hate me because I'm trying to take more of a calmer approach. So I don't want to lean into the hatred, the division, the anger that's just it's out of control on social media. But on the other hand, I think the center is also going to really dislike, especially the fact that I'm going to refer to Andrew Tate a lot, and they don't want me. They don't want to use the word war. Like we're in a civil war, and I get where the center's coming from on that one, or the center right, but we are in a war. So I think I'm going to come out of this pissing off every single person. Um, the first thing I wanted to do is let me play this because we've been in a war for a very long time. Definitely since they stole the election. When I say they, I'm talking about England. I'm talking about the city of London. I'm talking about Europe. I'm talking about the international bankers. They stole the election in 2020. That I think that was sort of when it became obvious that we were in a war. You could say we were in a war before that. And then Butler, Pennsylvania, that was an escalation of it. And I think what's going on, the Trump administration is they can't really come out and say this because they're doing this behind closed doors. But I think they're trying to fight the left. What I'm trying to say is that we are at a war with the left, and that doesn't mean that people on the right just go out there with pitchforks and start killing the individual people on the left. What I'm talking about is this movement, this global movement. You have two. This is my view. You have two factions of authoritarianness. You have on the left, you have the globalists that are just looking to Europe and I don't know globally, and then you have the ones on the right, which you can call them sovereigntists, but they're nationalists. Both of them want strong government. Both of them want rules, regulations, laws, structure. And I don't agree with either of them, but push come to shove, if you're in a war, who you're going to align with? You have to go with the nationalists. From there, maybe we can get closer to classical liberalism or freedom, localism, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think that this sort of putting our heads in the sand and pretending that we're not at war and saying we're all the same. I don't think that's going to work. We're all the same in the sense that everyone's being herded like useful idiots. But okay, I'm going to play this video. Two questions. The president yesterday, you inferred that the former president accompanied the coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I'm not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
Thank you. So, like I said, this is supposed to be about Charlie Kirk, but I'm starting with Tulsi Gabbard 2020. Thanks for the repost, Kirk. Yeah, Miss 8719. It's just it's hard for me as well. You were the first one that told me this happened, so technically it's your fault that I'm not sleeping. Let me bring up something. God, I'm gonna suck at this. Andrew Tate. This is a video.
To say this to you people at home, these are the last years of freedom. Our children are never going to experience what we experienced. We're going to have electric cars, which will be zone controlled, which will turn off if you go into the wrong zone, or turn off on certain days of the week. We're going to have money, which they control completely and absolutely, CBDCs, which they can freeze at any moment, or only allow you to spend it on certain things, or only allow you to spend it in certain areas. This is the beginning of the absolute end. We're entering complete tyranny and slavery. Nobody seems to give a shit.
So I know people hate that guy. I agree with so much of what he says. What he said is it's not really left right. Like right now, it's the left that's pushing this today, but it wasn't. This all started with the Republican Party with the Patriot Act, and the left warned us. And when we didn't listen, I think they got jaded, and they're like, you know what? Let's just go all in. There's no turning this ship around. And now the left is the crazy party. But it could just as easily be the right. Like I'm looking at the Trump administration, and I'm praying to God that Donald Trump actually is trying to do the right thing, turn this ship around. But you never know. I mean, they might take him out. Maybe he doesn't give a shit about us. Maybe he does his best, and then when he's gone, they'll just go right back to business as usual. But in any case, like this guy, the message that Andrew Tate just expressed, it's pretty accurate. Like look at the kids today compared to when I was growing up in the 90s. I don't think people even understand what it means to be free at this point. I certainly don't feel free. Try to cross the border into the US. It's a nightmare. How do I remove this, add this, go to this? I suck at this. Let me go through, what do we got next? I got a whole bunch of these tabbed up. So this is Alex Jones. The rhetoric has really kicked off. Now reporting the cold-blooded killer of Charlie Kirk is another psychotic trans activist. I think this has been confirmed that the guy is trans, but anyway, my point is like that is very aggressive language. I noticed this first kick off with Elon Musk and the UK situation, where Elon Musk was leaning more and more into like nationalism, ethno-nationalism, talking about how white people need to band together. It's not the message that I disagree with. I recognize that it was an escalation in the use of language he was using. I don't know if he's off his meds. I don't know if that's to somehow related to the algorithm on X, and he's trying to boost the stock price of his company. I don't know if he's in talks with the Trump administration, and because this all seems orchestrated. Mike Benz came out and he said the same thing. He's like, the killer, his guts has got to be spilled, and the family's got to see that when the killer gets executed, because apparently in wherever it is, Utah, they have the death penalty, and they still include death by firing squad, which I would endorse for this. I mean, assuming this is the guy that killed him, and assuming they get to a trial, this doesn't end up like Lee Harvey Oswald. Do a public execution. The people need justice, but you got to do it in a transparent manner. But this, out from Alex Jones to Elon Musk to Mike Benz, they're trying to. Other people pointed this out, but they're trying to whip up the people into a frenzy. And I don't know if that's the right thing right now. That certainly wouldn't be the legacy. It's not what Charlie Kirk would have wanted. Here's another one. The Democrat Party needs to be ripped out by its roots. I take this back to what Tulsi Gabbard said. Like Tulsi Gabbard comes out and accuses the leader of the Democrat Party, which is technically still Obama, accuses him of treason. She doesn't say it. Somebody else uses those words, but she goes around the edges and she says, "What would you call it if not treason?" So they're going after Obama. Again, I agree with this. The guy's a globalist. Like these people, they're the farthest thing from people that support the American Republic. You need to go after them. You need to go after the entire Democrat machine while we still have control of the Republican Party to some extent. And I think the gloves have to come off. You want to use the justice system, but you definitely want to go after George Soros. You want to go after Obama. You want to go after all these people that profited from their time in office, that violated the Constitution, destroyed the rule of law, all these corrupt judges. So maybe that's what this guy's getting at. I don't know if it's the right way to do it right now, given that we're so close to to the point of no return in the U.S. I mean, ever since the Patriot Act, we've been fighting to try to bring things back to normal, but this could potentially spiral out of control. This woman, everybody knows. My views on this are quite complicated. So Dallas Brody, she's coming out swinging. They basically made the decision that they're not going to go through the town hall approach. Maybe they've written off the Canadian voters, and I can't blame them. I went through one election. I can tell you they're not. They're just completely detached from the political system. So they're going through this whole social media clickbait kind of thing. And Dallas Brody, it's not her that's writing this. Obviously, it's whoever's managing her social media account. They're jumping on the bandwagon. So this is the one with the crazy lady, and then there was the one with John Rustad where he got cornered, and he's basically said, "Yeah, of course Donald Trump is somehow responsible for Charlie Kirk dying," which is I understand what he's trying to say, but there's a time and place for it. But anyway, the real issue here is we live in a society where women like this are allowed to participate in society. You go back 40 years, there was, and it's sensitive. You could work, like, if you were crazy like this, you could work in a sex shop, you could work in a bar, no problem. But working as a paralegal or working as a teacher in sensitive positions, in important positions, you had to be somewhat sane. You had to be rational. Like, you can't work at a school if you got like a side gig on OnlyFans. You can't work in a daycare if you're an alcoholic and you're going out and picking up chicks at the bar. Like, there were certain things that society demanded of you, but they're gone. And now a woman like that is given a job, and then a crisis like this happens, and people overreact, and we're resorting to cancel culture, and we're snitching each other out like we did during COVID, which is essentially what Miss Brody is doing here. I have tremendous respect for her, by the way, but still. The problem is this woman should have never gotten hired in the first place. So society is crumbling. This is something that Bruce Party said to me. He was talking about conservatives. Conservatives, they want to implement laws to build the kind of society that they want to pretend they live in, rather than removing those laws and realizing that this is the society we live in. So I don't think firing her for this bad video, that's not the solution. The solution would be like, how do we fix our society so nutcases like her never get the job in the first place? And I mentioned, I can play this if you want.
Do you think, though, John, that Trump himself is partly responsible for inflaming the situation? Like, you heard him single out the radical left, but I've heard him call people fascists and communists. So, I mean, the blame has to be spread around to all sides, does it not?
But I would agree entirely. It does have to be spread around, because it's not about a political positioning. And people can hide behind whether they're radical left or radical right. People can hide behind any of these sort of things. The bottom line is these are criminal activities.
Do you think, though?
Again, I understand what Mr. Rustad's trying to say, but there's a time and a place. When the left brutally assassinated this guy on live television, and now not all of the left, and actually it might even be bots at this point, but on Blue Sky, they're laughing about this guy and mocking his family. I think a better approach for him would have been to do what Donald Trump did when they asked him. They're like, there's violence on the left, on the right. How do you respond to that? He goes, I don't care about the violence on the right, because when they go, there's violence on the right, maybe they go a little bit overboard, but it's not like the same with the left where they spill out in the streets and they start burning things down. He's talking about the summer of love, which is another thing why people are on edge. Where people are waiting to see, nobody wants another summer of love. And it seems like that's where they're trying to push this, but from the right. God, I hope that doesn't happen. One thing I wanted to play after this, there's a lot of comments. I'll read the comments after. I'm just going to point from this. I want to go to another video. Again, I'm not trying to whip people up into a frenzy. I'm not trying to further the divide, but I'm just trying to point out that, the left has completely, they have to own this. Like, they brought this. I'm more centrist, center right, and I'm working with the right, and we're trying to get out of this. We're the only rational people in the room, and we have to get out of this. But that doesn't mean that we can't point out how bad these guys have been. It's a 2.5-minute video I'm going to play.
Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, Hey, fascist! Exclamation point. Catch! Exclamation point.
That's actually not what I wanted. It just happens to be at the beginning. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that was planted. I don't know if the guy is actually the killer. And if he did, I'm not blaming every transgender person. It's everything after that I want to point out.
You think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core.
We're in a war. So you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
And that's why the gloves are off.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
And yes, there are many threats to democracy. We see it with these extreme candidates.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be. But they can only push people so far. And then they start to take matters into their own hands.
What the American public want is for us to bring actual weapons to this bar fight. This is an actual fight.
You know, this is literally call to arms.
The MAGA movement is a threat.
You know what it says? You know, when they go low, we go high.
With all due respect, if they go low, we don't go high.
When they go low, we kick them.
We take them to the mud and choke them out.
And make sure that they stay down. And you know what? Pick them when they're down because they deserve it.
Get up in the face of some Congress people.
We are going to be in your face. We are going to be in your
We have to fight this in the streets.
We're going to fight it in the streets. It's time to step out of your comfort zone and step out into the streets.
to our Republican colleagues. If you do not see the light, we witnessing the fight. You and your little friend off of Twitter. Y'all touch the fight.
That you see everybody from that cabinet in the restaurant, in the department store, in the gasoline station, you get up and you go around. And you walk up on them. And you tell them they're not welcome. Nor anywhere.
I'm not going to stop the generation. He may not finish his generation.
It's the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. Just saying. There will be news sometime. Just so you know, there will be news.
I don't know who that is. Again, I'm not showing you that to get people angry. This is more for my like centrist friends, moderate friends, people who consider themselves right, but they're more classically liberal. I talk to a lot of the nationalists, and what they say to me is, you know, Payman, like we tried what you're saying, you know, cooler heads will prevail. The only way through out of this is through peace. And look what it's gotten us. They almost took out Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. They took out Charlie Kirk. There was a summer of love. You know, Derek Chauvin is still in jail despite George Floyd, you know, having died of an overdose. The whole George Floyd incident. Rittenhouse, I believe, was the child that with the gun that he defended himself against the mob, and they tried to throw him in jail. So we need to come up with better arguments than you know, violence is not the answer. This isn't a war. Okay, it is a war, as I mentioned before, and as Tulsi Gabbard was talking about. How do we win this war without violence? Okay, we need to educate the public. That's what Charlie Kirk was trying to do. So I guess that means we have to step up our game and we have to do what Charlie did and go out there and talk to people. I had a friend DM me this morning, and he said, you know, the only way is to get off of X and go out there and actually talk to people. You know, do this instead of me doing this over podcast. You have to do it through town hall. X is just it's a horrible echo chamber. I don't even know if I'm making a dent right now. Let me go to the comments. I'm sure people are screaming at me. Mr. Reese, why can't people just tell the truth, share the truth, and expose the corrupt influencers, mainstream media, politicians, RCMP, police by sharing facts instead of protecting and promoting the corrupt? Yeah, I can give you a lot of answers. One, people they're not interested in the truth. People aren't interested in country culture. They're interested in, you know, pumpkin spice lattes. If you're a dad, you're interested in golfing. Obviously, you want the best for your children, but you don't really want to do too much because it you know, that you want to spend what precious time you have with your family. You don't want to go on a crusade like idiots like me and yourself, Kirk, have done, where we've sacrificed so much of our life to fix a country, and then we wake up one day and we realize people don't care. So it's a difficult. I understand what you're asking for, but it's difficult. Wolf, did you see the video that plausibly related that the shooter was in the audience and used a cell phone disguised firearm? I was talking to another one of my friends, and I told him, I'm like, I'm not really that good at the speculation game, like the prediction game. So I don't know. I mean, I can tell you one thing. When this happened, I was talking to my friend Jason Dahl. It's on X, and I said I have a feeling that they're going to bury this like they buried Epstein. And to my surprise, they've been very forthcoming. Like every step of the way, they've been releasing information. Here's a picture of the shooter. We're asking the public to help us identify him. Here's a video of him with a rifle in his pants. This is him leaving his house. And, you know, the shooter's been apprehended. There was this written on the gun casing, all of this stuff. Now, I don't know if any of that's real. I've heard all sorts of theories. You're talking about one that I haven't heard of, the cell phone disguised firearm. Again, I don't like some of them I think are outrageous, like the guy tapping his hat, the older gentleman. Like this is almost like it's a collage of different B movies, and they're taking bits and pieces of it from like JFK, the movie, but it really happened in real life. The guy with the umbrella, that's that guy tapping his hat is the umbrella guy. If you watch the movie Snake Eyes, before they took out the senator, somebody was screaming in the back like, "Here comes the pain," and that would be the old guy who said, "I'm the shooter." I don't know. I let's just wait and see what happens. I talked to my friend, I won't say who, and I was telling him about, I keep going back to Tulsi Gabbard. Like, I think this press release is intimately related to what's going on. And I told him, like, I admire the Trump administration. Again, this is all me assuming that what I believe is true, that they're at a war with the City of London and you know, the globalists, and they're trying to use the 4 years that they have to take some of these guys out legally, extrajudicially, however. Trump is doing a great job by keeping it secret, running it like a military operation, no leaks. I get that. But past a certain point, you're going to have to go to the American people and you're going to say, listen, you got to level with them and say, this is what's happening. We're at a war. This is why we're doing the things that we're doing. This is why we're trying to clear out the voter rolls, which means we have to take over some of these cities like California, the cities in LA. You know, we have to send in the National Guard. Through that, we get their voter rolls, we clean it out, we get rid of the illegals. I don't know if he's able to do that, but I think what's happened is it started with Tulsi Gabbard pointing a finger at Obama, and now it seems that they've pushed back maybe with this Charlie Kirk killing. They're hoping to destabilize society. Troon terrorists. I don't know what that word means. I think you mean the LGBT Troon. I don't know what that is, but I don't know if you're making fun of the transgender people or non-transgendered people, but either way, this has nothing to do with the LGBT community is just using these people as useful idiots. I wanted to share something. I'll go to the comments. Okay, before I do, a couple of things from Andrew Tate. One, Andrew Tate said that he never, like when he was criticizing the government, when he was criticizing healthcare, he was criticizing the military, nothing happened. The moment he started criticizing the Alphabet Agency, LGBTQ, he goes, that's when they came after him. And with Charlie Kirk, like there's three things that he's attacking that I think are the pillars of left ideology, and that's why they didn't like him, they hated him, especially since he was so effective at getting people out, young youth, to talk about these things. Transgenderism, his opposition to transgenderism is one. His opposition to abortion is another one. And his support for the family unit, which is, this is a very delicate issue, but support for the family unit is opposition to, you know, same-sex relationships. I think those three things are what basically got him killed, more so than anyone else. And the fact that he did it on college campuses, which is where the left indoctrinates its followers, And, it cuts across teachers' unions that they indoctrinate the teachers, and the teachers go in and then they indoctrinate the students. I think maybe he didn't realize the danger that he was in. That was one thing. The other thing with Andrew Tate, he said when they got him, he goes, they're trying to, traditionally, when you accuse a man of sexual assault or rape, he's done. But they tried going after him and it didn't work. And he goes, I'm worried what they're going to do next. And then what they did next is they tried to take out the presidential candidate in Butler, Pennsylvania. And now this is what he was talking about. That was a couple of years ago. This is what's next, is taking people out, assassinations. What do I got? I got another 45 minutes. I'm going to bring up another video. So we did the Andrew Tate one, The Last Generation of Freedom. Sanctions Holocaust. Let's put this one on.
When you saw the assassination?
Well, I saw that he'd been shot. I said to Tristan, Charlie Kirk was shot. He said, no way. Then I saw that he was stable. And then I saw the video and I said, there's no way you can make that. You can't make it. And my heart broke. For Charlie, for his family, for the Western world as we know it, for the country my father served under, for the country I was born in, my heart is broken. I don't know what else to say to you. The world as we know it is over. And the people who are cheering for his death want you dead too. And they want me dead. And unfortunately, if you study enough history, these people are psychopathic enough to get what they want. Because it's not about good and evil. It's about motivation. It's about who is prepared to do the most heinous transgressions to win. If you're playing a game, cheaters win. And they're going to cheat. They're going to cheat the election. They're going to cheat the judicial system. They're going to keep cheating until we're all gone.
Let's get this guy up here again. It's the first part, I'm sorry, is useless. But the last portion where he said, like, these people, they'll do anything to win. They'll never give up. And they've stolen elections. And I say I'm talking about the Uniparty now in the US, the deep state. They steal elections. They've rigged the judicial system. That's another thing that Donald Trump has to tackle somehow. I guess you got to start impeaching these judges. And I don't know how Donald Trump is going to get him out. Because he's got Canada. My goal, my dream was that, my wish, they're going to take on the UK, and they're going to weaken the UK with these protests and these riots, and it's going to sever the support and the connection between Mark Carney and the UK, and then they can turn their attention to Canada. The possibility of Canada being a free country, like us taking it back, with every passing day, it's getting less and less. We are a vassal of the US, but they need to come in. And it's almost like they have to codify that somehow, make it like a quasi territory, because we can't do this on our own. Like we're not organized enough. We're not making the necessary adjustments that need to be done to take back our country. But that was my goal. And then sort of this, first of all, the bombing of Qatar derailed that. But now this is why I wonder if this is, Obama getting back at Tulsi Gabbard. He's saying, no, you're not going ahead with this plan of yours to reform the country to be more of a republic. We're going to destabilize it. We're going to cause chaos. We're going to take over the news cycle so that you can't do as effectively what you wanted to do in the UK and Canada. Let's see what other, let me remove this video file. Apologies for me sucking at this. There's some really good ones from Andrew Tate. This one.
Quite deeply affected, to be honest.
I read your one of your tweets. There's a few of them. They're pretty strong statements that you've made. One of them says it's not only Charlie, there's a list, they're coming for the rest of us. What do you mean by that?
We no longer live in any kind of civilized political discourse. The left and the right are not arguing about interest rates or economic policy. This is a complete different worldview. These people lack spirits and souls, and they believe that anybody who disagrees with them or says a word counter to their narrative deserves a bullet in the neck. This is no longer political discourse. This is a divide which is much larger than most divides, which caused endless wars across the planet. And Charlie Kirk was killed for being the good guy, for being the nice guy. He hasn't been nearly as inflammatory as I have with many subjects. And they believe we deserve death, and they celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk in a disgusting, inhumane manner. Let's not forget, because it's easy to forget, attempts. Not only did they try to kill Trump, but we forget it because they were unsuccessful. They tried to kill Nick Fuentes. We forget it because they were unsuccessful. Did you even know they tried to kill me? Type Andrew Tate knife attack. Last month, somebody put on a high-vis vest pretending to be a builder, trying to get access to my house with a blade. And when he was identified, started slashing randomly because he couldn't kill me. So I'm on a death list also. And the media is spinning and hyper-radicalizing low IQ people into attacking anybody who has a worldview that's different to theirs. The media is absolutely, completely complicit. And I would argue that very few people on the planet had larger voices for the masculine youth than Charlie Kirk. If you want to say some names which are possibly up there, it's myself and Nick, and we've already had attempts on our life. This is disgusting. And this is no longer a political divide. This is no longer about policy. This is about good and evil. This is about right and wrong. This is a war. This is almost an unfixable problem. When people are laughing and celebrating a father dying in front of his children because he disagreed with their worldview, especially when their worldview is wrong. Let's analyze as professionals. If you're going to sit and tell the world that men can be women because they put on a wig, and they believe you deserve a bullet in the neck the second you disagree with them, they are fighting objective reality. You can't agree or disagree with these people. Where is the political solution for people you cannot agree, disagree, conversate, or debate with? You tell me how we have a political solution to this.
There was a lot in there. Some of it, I'm guessing you guys might not agree with the last part where there's no political solution out of this. But first of all, when he said that we're not debating interest rates, left versus right, like this is, and I pointed this out, on the left, like their belief system is different. I can have a debate with an ethno-nationalist on the right, and they'll say, Payman Asghari, I don't think you should be allowed to run. You weren't born here, and that's what I believe. You're a good guy, but I don't support you. I can have that conversation with them. Like the foundation is the same. It's not a irrational argument. If you want to run for a country, you have to be born there. You either agree with it or disagree with it, but it's rational. On the left, you can't have that rational discussion. Like, transgenderism, truth and reconciliation, climate change. When you go in there, the media has been just propagandizing them for so long. And it's not just the left at this point, it's the center as well. But it's very difficult to have that argument with them. They bring on radicalized people who believe that all men are sexist rapists. How do you have a conversation with them? They bring people, minorities, who believe all white people are racist. If you believe all white people are racist, how do I can't have a conversation with you. When I talk to an ethno-nationalist, they'll say, Payman, you're a good guy. This isn't about you. This is about our country. It's about our culture. It's about, safeguarding our nation. They're not saying, Payman, your skin color is bad and Mein Kampf tells me this or that. They're not radicalized that way. Yeah, and the other thing he mentioned was about the media being, responsible. They're absolutely responsible. This is the number one challenge I had during the election. The media is not there to educate people. The media is a tool, just like the political parties. It's the other side of the tool and the toolkit of whoever's running, the oligarchs running the country, the crown, that they prime the population for 3 years and 11 months before the election. These are the issues. This is the absolute truth. And they're responsible as well. Let me go through the comments. You're a good interviewer because you let your guests talk. I do like listening to you, and you're right on point. We've gone from low standards to no standards. Yeah. Well, thanks. First of all, thanks for the comment. I'm a better listener, I guess, than I am a talker. Yeah, there's no standards. You're absolutely right. In society, I mean, if you wanted to be a teacher back in the day, like, you had to be presentable. First of all, as a man, like, you had to shave every day. You had to wear a shirt, probably a tie. You can't wear jeans. You have to wear something more professional. Can't show up in sneakers. Same thing with a female teacher. Like, they had to look presentable. That's a shift that's happened in society. Like, before, when I looked at mothers, like, they looked like angels, like they were divine. They took care of their bodies. They just looked fantastic. And then now, fast forward, you have women, they're purposefully dressing like they have mold in their hair. You got like blue or green hair, which is the worst kind. And I see them coming up. I'm in Whistler. It's a resort town, and you get two types of people. You get the youth, they're super fit. Like if you're going somewhere, a resort town with a lake, you're going there to pick up chicks, or you're going there to meet guys. So they're all fit. And then on the other hand, we get a lot of these people from Washington come up. I guess they're from Seattle. The woman is like completely out of shape. Like, she's let herself go. Her hair is like blue or green or pink, and she's got kids. I'm thinking, like, what kind of a role model are you for your kids if you're saying to your kids, like, don't bother. Like, how do you tell your kids you got to brush your teeth before you go to bed when mom doesn't brush her hair when she wakes up in the morning? So yeah, no standards. Thanks for the repost. Trans is all a corporate lie that you are pushing. Stop spreading the lie. Gay, not queer. Gay, I don't know. I think what you're trying. Okay, I see from your logo. So you believe in like gay, but you don't support the trans movement. I'm not even here to argue that. I'm not even touching that. But you're entitled to your opinion. But that's not what I'm trying to get across right now. I think there's a war going on. It has nothing to do with the people on the ground. I think this is about globalism versus sovereignty. This is about globalism versus nationalism. It's because there are more corrupt individuals in our bloated bureaucracies than there are honest people left inside. It is. I have another theory, and I always tie it back to urbanization. If you probably dug deeper, it probably has to do with the debt. But people are moving into they're being pushed into the urban centers. They're moving into the urban centers. There's no jobs in the rural countrysides because the urban centers are voter based and they're voting for policies that wipe out the rural centers. If there's immigrants coming in, they just go to the urban centers. Urban centers don't produce goods. They produce services. It's like a cannibalistic way of living. Like the people on the farms are the ones that produce. The people in the city, not really so much. They don't live within their means. They're financially irresponsible. And the consequence of that is you need to print money and you got to create jobs for these people. This is like the fall of the Roman Republic where, the wars, instead of taking a few months during combat season, they took a few years. They go away, they come back, their farm, it's fallen into disarray. It's in a dilapidated state. They got to sell the farm and they move to the city, or they become a serf on the farm to the senator that buys it. And then over time, like you got all these pissed off, 18 to 35-year-old men, and they're threatening revolution. So you just give them grain, or you create stupid, useless jobs. That's what bureaucracies are. And, so all these people that they went to university, they were promised they'd get a job, you come out, there's no work. So you just create these bureaucracies. If you follow Corinne Morey, she looked into the hospital system in BC. The amount of money they're spending on the hospitals is increasing, but the amount of overtime the nurses are doing, it's not decreasing, it's also increasing. So that money, her theory is the money is going to the bureaucracy, to the management. Where's the headquarters for the UN? The US deep state is the world deep state. It is. I kind of align. I like Alex Craner. I follow him, and I think he's the best. Him and Tom Luongo have this theory that it's, the United Kingdom, England never really stopped ruling. But Alex Craner explains it in a way that's easier for ordinary people like you and I to understand. And it seems like you could make the argument that the United States took over England and now it's this empire is taken over. You could make the argument that the United States is not the one in charge. It's either the City of London and Wall Street, or maybe it's London and Washington, D.C. But the country's almost been hijacked, the U.S. And that's what Donald Trump sort of represents. And not even him, the people behind them. Like, how do we get those people out? Like, how do you just defeat an enemy that you can't see? You don't even know who they are, first of all. Secondly, how do you do it when they have so much power? Like Donald Trump is floating around the idea that they're going to start investigating George Soros. Well, that's a far cry from arresting him and throwing him in jail for the rest of his life, which unfortunately is going to be short. But like that's what needs to be done. Trunscum, I'm gay and there's no LGBTQ community. It was and still is a 2015 deceptive marketing campaign by greedy gay NGOs to maintain their corporate pledges. Stop spreading this devious lie. I'm not, look, man, I'm not disagreeing with you, and you obviously know more about this than I do. I'm just saying I'm very ignorant on this stuff. I don't know anything about the LGBT community. I'm using that phrase as, you know, people do during in day to day. So when you see a pride flag on the ground and somebody goes to jail for, you know, speeding over and doing skid marks, they turn their anger on the LGBTQ community. But you might be right, and I guess I got to look into that. Mr. Haino, Canada, United States have taken God out, and non-Christian ideologies are having a heyday without consequences. And especially in Canada, citizens sit back like cowards. Yeah, with every day, I'm starting to realize this more and more. Yesterday, I did a podcast with a gentleman, and we were talking about God-given rights. And he said, like, back in the 1700s, you had this thing called natural law, and the government existed beneath that. Like, the government could create legislation and regulations, but they couldn't touch that natural law. And the natural law at this point, think of it as the 10 Commandments. But it was this thing that was understood for thousands of years. And then for some reason in the 1800s, they're just like, nah, the government is above that. And, you know, the government, slowly it started taking over that. And now you see these arguments that without government, you can't, you know, your rights are not secured. So you need government to have those rights. Ergo, government gives you those rights. Ergo, they're not really rights, they're permissions. This is Yuval Harari's argument that, you know, there's nowhere is there anything written in nature that we have these rights. These are all made by man. And they're kind of missing the point. Like when you had this concept of God, whether you believe that God exists, you know, as in the cloud somewhere, or whether God is within each one of us, there was sort of a spark. There was something unique about mankind. There were certain things that we agreed to not to violate, and now we have violated those. Let me play another video. I think I got some more stuff tabbed up on the browser as well. Here's a funny one.
Respect. I show them respect back.
So Adolf Hitler shows you respect, you'd respect him back.
That's a stupid question.
It's not. It's a logical extension of your argument.
If in 1931 I was walking through Germany and a man come up to me and said, sorry for bumping into you, I'd say, sorry, no problem, mate. I'd show respect. I don't know, what are you trying to say? That I sanction the Holocaust?
I guess it has nothing to do with this, but I was going through Instagram yesterday, and I thought something a little bit lighter. Before going to the comments, let's see what else. So here's another one, and this is how, again, I live in absolute terror of what happened with the Patriot Act and after 9/11. So Secretary of State Marco Rubio is saying that anybody who celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the State Department might not give them visas, might not let them enter the U.S. So technically, a country has a right to deny entry to anyone, and I kind of support this. Like if you're a communist, I don't think they should let you in the country. Now that in practice it's a lot harder, but you would, what I mean is you would ask screening questions, and you'd want to bring people on that are, oh, you guys can't see this. Man, I'm an idiot. You want to bring people into the country that share your values. So you want to bring in people that are entrepreneurial, I don't know, farmers, welders, maybe soldiers or whatever. But my point is, a nation does have that right. I don't know if it's a good idea to extend that to free speech, because, again, if somebody dies and somebody glorifies that person's death and be like, yeah, I'm so happy the kids are an orphan or something, that's a bad person. But that, I don't know if you want to start restricting their speech, is what I'm trying to say, which is what this does. And I believe after this psychopath woman who should have never had her job, now Marco Rubio is turning his attention on Canada and saying, these people should be barred from entering the U.S. Probably should be. She shouldn't have gotten her job in the first place. She's mentally unstable. I don't know if you want to use the power of the state and mobilize it for these purposes. Now, related to this, I was down in the U.S. I had to go do some banking work, and I was talking to the teller. She used to live in Canada. She said she no longer, she's got family up here. They invited her up for a family get together, and she's like, I just don't go. It's not easy getting across that border now. 30 years ago, it was very simple. I remember I had to go down for a tournament, and I went with like a completely somebody else's family. Somebody offered to drive me in their car. It was a Canadian. I'm clearly Iranian. And they didn't even ask a question. Like, they just like go on through. Now, like the level of questions that they're asking and the regulations, is your dog chipped? Why are you bringing firewood with you? Do you know it's illegal? I'm like, how am I supposed to know what's illegal anymore? There's like a billion restrictions. So this is, again, it's going to get from bad to worse. Here's an idiot. These people, this is the problem I've had with the reaction from the left. So instead of universally denouncing this, or at least saying, guys, like, this was wrong, like, let's separate the murder part, they're trying to say, no, we've done nothing wrong. This is the difference between the left and the right. Like, the right, they always come out and say, like, take Andrew Tate. Well, I don't always agree with everything he says, but let's play this video. Donald Trump. Sure, Donald Trump is he's not perfect. He's flawed. But whereas the left, they're like, no, screw you. Like, nothing we do is ever wrong. We will never admit it. We don't care how heinous the crime. That's our MO. And, there's just more of this. So again, this is to my centrist friends who want to find a peaceful solution out of this. Don't just turn to the more right-wing elements, the more nationalist elements, and just write them off. Say they're crazy, they're extreme right. Well, no, they have a point. These people on the left, you can't reason with them. It's like the T-800 robot from Terminator. Like, they don't feel pain, they don't feel pity. They will never give up until you're dead. That's what the left is like. So to fight them, we have to be a little bit smarter. I'm not saying we should use the same tactics, but definitely we should not have infighting on the right. This is my message for the right generally. Like, we need to unify. We need to get together. We need to find like a leadership structure. We need to come up with a vision, say, like, these are the 10 things that we will all agree on. And, everything else, we'll put it to the side, but we can't have infighting at this point. Matt Walsh said this, and he was very aggressive in the way he said it, but it's time to put our petty differences aside. Do we have anything else? Oh, this one. This is Jacobin. Somebody sent me this. This is like a far left-wing article. Just look at the first paragraph. The assassination of Charlie Kirk threatens to embolden the far right and provide Donald Trump with a pretext for crushing dissent, which, this is something that I worry about too. But escalating political violence corrodes democratic norms and poses a unique threat to the left. Not that anybody on the left watches me, but one of the reasons that the right cannot take the left seriously is because they're ignoring everything that Joe Biden did. They're ignoring everything that Obama did. Like, on the right, in the US now I'm talking about, they are grown-ups. They are adults. They own the mistakes that George Bush made, George Bush Sr. made, Ronald Reagan made, even Donald Trump made in his first term. They own that. They're calling out anybody that's neoconservative. The reason this whole attack on Israel is an attack on neoconservatism. So they're trying to move forward in a populist manner. The left doesn't do this. This goes back to the hubris of the left. Like, we can do no harm. We are morally superior, and we will not give an inch. And I don't know how you deal with the adversary like that. Here's another one. Liberal MP says Pierre Poilievre represents an existential threat to democracy. Like, if you want to start prosecuting people for hate speech, don't start with the citizenry. Start with these people that are radicalizing society. What do we have in comments? How many genders are there? Obviously, please tell me she, her didn't win. I mean, I don't. I guess I could let's play a video, and I'll come to your question. I got a whole bunch of these queued up, but I gotta go soon. How many? Like, what is a woman? I'll play all three of them, I guess.
At least, because we'll not agree on everything, that we should be able to fire teachers at will.
What do you mean at will? For what cause?
If you're a bad teacher.
What do you mean by bad teacher?
Yeah, someone who doesn't listen to their students, is not good at what they do.
The federal government spending money based solely on tests hurts people. because then we don't get the money going to critical thinking, which your misinformation machine succeeds on.
But you would say I'm a misinformation machine. That's fine.
Yeah.
You're a teacher. Yes. What is a woman?
Oh, buddy. All right. So we define gender as a set of preferences that you have.
Can men give birth?
Can men or can males? Because males can't.
So I want to thank you for proving a great point.
What?
You are why we should eliminate the Department of Education. Thank you very much.
She makes a good point. Like, this is going on campuses and brainwashing kids with this stuff. I mean, here's another one.
A woman.
I don't know. That one's hard. I know that's your line, and I think that's hard to say, man. I don't know.
But what
do you think is a woman?
Well, a woman is an adult female with XX chromosomes. It's not difficult, right?
I
It's always been that way.
disagree. I don't think so.
But if you disagree, why? But then what is your alternative?
Oh, I don't know.
So you disagree with that? You disagree without an alternative?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, I think that's a fair thing to say.
But you disagree, but you must have some opinion. What is your opinion of what a woman is?
I really don't know. I think it's a gender. I think it's a gender more than a sex. I think sex is female, and then woman is like gender. Yeah. That's what I would say.
A civilization that can't define very basic biological terms and stay close to them is a civilization in moral chaos.
Yeah, this was the other one. It blows me away. Like, Charlie Kirk, may he rest in peace, he was out there asking the same question. You think that they would have gotten together and come up with a good answer. And you saw it when they were confirming that Supreme Court nominee. I can't believe that she got confirmed. For anyone who can't define what a woman is, I don't think you should be running for Supreme Court. But she also couldn't answer this question. Like, they must take them for orientation before they send them out. They're like, all right, you're going to get asked this question. And they'll be like, what should I respond? Like, we have no response. Just don't answer the question. It seems really weak. Here's the last one on what is a woman.
That's a stupid question, dude. That's a dumb question.
They can't answer what a woman is. It's not a trick question. What is a woman?
Who identifies as a woman?
What is that thing? You can't answer the question with the question. Define woman without saying woman.
It's a social form. Does it even matter?
What is a woman? This is not a trick question, everybody. You're in college paying for an education. What is a woman?
How about you talk to someone with media training?
You don't need media training. It's not a trick. What is a woman?
Who identifies as a woman?
You can't answer the question with the...
What are you talking about?
It's like...
What is a man?
The college kids of America going hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt who think it's a trick question when you ask them what a woman is.
It's funny when people can't define what a woman is. Yeah. So Gary, like, in my opinion, this is, I don't even know why we're having this conversation. Like, there's two genders, just like how there's two charges in electricity. But here we are. Add that to stage. Miss Kowalczyk, we are being gaslit and lied to. This is about division and control and to usher in the transhuman AI controlled state. Yeah, the technocracy. This is why I go back and forth between, having faith in Donald Trump and being able to, fix this problem for us, even though, we're all doing our part, and also wondering if he's just making things worse, or this is a foregone conclusion. Like, we can't fight this. We really need to have a broad discussion about freedom of speech. Yeah. I don't know how we do that. I'm hoping that this political assassination of Mr. Kirk encourages more people to go out there and do what he did. I only realize now that after his tragic passing, how important it was what he did, because he went right into the factory, I guess the assembly line for all these indoctrinated youth that then go and further destroy society. And I can't believe no one's ever done this before. We just assumed, universities would somehow fix themselves, or there's a political solution. And he's like, no, let's just go on the campus and let's point out that universities are lying and they're not educating. And a lot of the youth are waking up. A lot of this problem is because of the baby boomers and the Gen X and my generation, the millennials. they ultimately they built this, and they've bankrupted society, and the youth have to pick up the mess. There was another one about freedom of speech. I wish there was a way for me to prepare these beforehand. Open borders. What is a woman? White privilege. It's a funny one from Elon Musk.
Studies degrees aren't real education. Please elaborate on that.
Sure. The difference between a gender studies degree and toilet paper is that toilet paper has an actual practical use.
Yeah, a lot of the gender studies. That was just showing that for fun, though. There's one that Charlie Kirk did. This one, he's talking to an economics student.
Sweet. I'm just curious about your stance on college as a scam, because I feel like, according to the Hamilton Institute, people who get bachelor degrees over a total lifetime earnings will earn over $1 million more than those who don't. And also, I feel like college is an important place for people to like go learn valuable life lessons. And also, it's good to have like a balanced society, because then you're going to get artists, you're also going to get architectures, you're going to get engineers, you're going to get all sorts of different people that we need in society. Because like, what's the point in living if we don't have writers or artists, you know? So I just want to get your take on that.
The question is, did the best writers learn to write in college? Probably not. No. The best writers are gifted writing, and they learn to write by writing. And I would just argue that this kind of holistic view you get, for example, what are you studying? Can I ask?
Economics.
Okay, so what do you think of Thomas Sowell?
I actually really like him. I bought his book, Basic Economics.
Great.
He's one of the first economists I ever
Do they
really
teach
looked
it
at.
here?
Not yet, but also I've only been
Okay,
for like
so now
1
you're proving
year.
my point. If you're studying economics and they're not teaching Thomas Sowell, you're not getting an education, you're getting an indoctrination.
Well,
and you're
no.
being scammed.
Okay.
Milton Friedman, do they teach Milton Friedman here?
No, but I'm aware of him.
Okay, Ludwig von Mises.
I'm aware of him, but no.
Murray Rothbard, hold on.
No.
F.A. Hayek.
No.
Frederick Bastiat.
No.
You're not getting economics education, you're getting an indoctrination. You should know every single, it's not your fault, but what you're paying for or going into debt for is not a real economic education. Those are the people that theorized about free markets, which is a legitimate school of thinking. Monetarism, private property rights, and the fact that I'm not criticizing you.
Yeah, it's going to take that down. Yeah, my point is, somebody was mentioning education. There's no education in these schools. This isn't about left or right. Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from, but the left is not, like, the left's not waking up. The right, and now I'm talking about even in Canada, but specifically in the U.S., like they got together, they took over their Republican Party, they put in a populist president, and they took over their media space. But the left, I don't see it happening. Like, I don't see any intellectuals on the left talking about any of these problems. Like, they like globalism, and my theory is that it has to do with climate change and LGBTQ. But what do I know? Ben Shapiro was very active on campuses too. Yeah, he was. I think he either got a little bit old or he just stepped down. Somebody told me that he's going to be taking over Turning Point USA. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. The movement in the U.S. really turned on him dramatically. It might be because of his support for Israel. I don't know what happened there. They didn't take over the Republican Party. Well, no, but I mean, compared to the Democrat Party, I think they got a lot more populists in. They did do the precinct strategy. Like, I would say Steve Bannon is more populist than he is establishment. But I don't know. Feel free to disagree, but do it quick. I got to get going soon. Do I have anything else I want to show before I have to go? I got a whole bunch of these, but I don't know if I have time. I'll play a bit of this.
What do you explain to Barron? Kai, he's almost peers. He's one of those young people that Charlie Kirk was so impressed with.
He was a tremendous fan.
What do you as a dad, and a lot of dads and moms are wondering what to say, what do you say to them?
So Barron's a very good student. And Barron came to me and he said, Dad, I'd like to meet somebody that you know. Who? Charlie Kirk. I said, what? You know, I thought he was going to say, I want to meet like King Charles or something, like we're going to meet soon, right? But he said, really, you want? And I set up a lunch with him, and he came back. He said, that guy's great, Dad.
So the reason I play that, contrast that. So this is shortly after Charlie's murder. Contrast that with whatever Joe Biden did. Like, do you remember when he did that press release? It was all red behind him. It looked like he was, Adolf Hitler. All this messaging about how Donald Trump is Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. I thought he did it pretty well, where he came out and he was hopeful. It was more optimistic, and I thought he was very professional. I think somebody coached, whoever it was, coached him very well. I'm not really good at deep dives to go into Elon, the father. I'm not skipping over your comments, Troon Scum. Why are you skipping over my comments? Scared of the Troon Mafia LGBT? Well, I don't want to get into that, because I don't know what to tell you. You want the trans and queer removed from LGBT, go back to what we used to call the gay movement. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know what else you want me to add. I don't know. Let's remove this. There's some funny ones. There's one from Tate. Last year, for life more dangerous. No political solution sanctioned. We'll give. Here's one that he's talking about the left. Again, people might not agree.
So the reason this is so dangerous from the left, and it's not as dangerous from the right, is because the people who are on the right live in a version of objective reality. We live in the real world. These people do not live in the real world. If you're going to believe that a man is a woman, and you're going to believe that we should have no borders for our country and unlimited numbers of people can turn up and just steal from us, if you're going to believe that criminals shouldn't go to jail, you're not a person who's sensible. You now have no parameters from which to operate your logic. So if you're going to live in a complete fantasy land, it becomes a lot easier to justify murdering a political opponent than it does if you operate from a frame of rationality. So for that reason, the left are far more dangerous, because all of their ideas are dangerous, because none of them are true. None of them are real. For the same reason it's dangerous for me to say to you, gravity isn't real, you can jump off a building. If you start believing in things that are completely falsified, completely fantasy, then murder is the end result of all of it. So the left is a serious problem across the world. It's a serious problem across America, especially. You add in a spiritual sickness where we have nothing unifying us in the West anymore. We don't share respect for a flag. We don't share respect for the country we're in. We don't share language. We don't share religion. We don't even share economic prosperity anymore. There's literally nothing unifying us. And if you're going to remove the capability to debate and discuss ideas, then you're going to have an absolute civil war. And that's what's so sad, that Charlie Kirk literally was the number one guy trying to speak. He wasn't trying to inflame tensions. He wasn't trying to push violence. He was the guy saying, look, let's talk this through and let me show you why you're wrong. He was the good guy who did the right thing, and he caught a bullet for it. And that is truly devastating.
Yeah, again, you can agree with him or disagree, but that's what he believes. MS8719, Miss 8719. This happens quite a bit. Your comments don't show up at the bottom. They get buried at the top. But yeah, I don't know what to think of Elon. Sometimes he helps, but some people don't like him. I just saw this comment from the Black Swede. That is exactly what is going on. The globalist elites are trying to destabilize the world. It feels that way. Everything is being put. We didn't even talk about it. That Ukrainian woman, that she got murdered August 22nd. They released a video a few days before this Charlie Kirk thing. They're ratcheting this up, and they're trying to get people to do something stupid. I had a friend on in the podcast we did the night of the Charlie Kirk assassination, and he said, 5 years ago, it wasn't really a big issue for him to leave his wife and kid at home. Now, like when he's out, he's always worried about like what's going to happen to his wife and his kids. When his children are in school, he's worried about what they're going to be taught in school. And he said this didn't happen 5-10 years ago. They're doing this stuff on purpose. I mean, I'm losing my mind. Like I'm barely sleeping. I can't even have communicate. I can't talk with people. I can't have a relationship with people anymore because they want to go out and have a drink and talk to girls and talk about video games and sports and movies. And I'm just thinking like, holy crap, I've been away from X for 2 hours. Maybe there's been a revolution somewhere. There was also that Nepal thing. All right, I'll just end it on a funny video. This stuff, I was up late getting all this stuff. Elon Musk. Here we go.
Would change about anything that you've done in your life in the past or recently?
I wouldn't have done this interview.
can be funny at times. All right, guys, thank you very much. I'm gonna do Cerberus at the Improv in about 20 minutes. If you guys want to watch that, you can watch it on my X. You can watch it on YouTube, Rumble. I think it's Cerberus. I don't know what the handle is. Cerberus at the Improv. Going to be co-hosting it with Andre Meloche and Timothy Knight, and we're going to be talking about this. Timothy's going to give a historical perspective. Andre's a philosopher, so he'll give a philosophical perspective. But we're trying to keep it upbeat and trying to figure out how to find a path forward. Thanks, and God bless.